Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to another thought for the day this evening. Pastor Ken had reminded the leadership team just the other week there that not everyone within the church knows who all the deacons and elders are. So, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Jamie. I am a deacon at the church. I am also the treasurer of the church. So, another reminder we had from Pastor Ken the other day in one of his thoughts was about the appearance of Jesus and how we don't really know exactly what Jesus looked like. He used the example of Zacchaeus and how there was a struggle to see Jesus, or was it a struggle perhaps to see Zacchaeus, depending on which way you looked at it, because it says in the Bible that he was a short man. And also, it's been mentioned before about how the Pharisees talk about Jesus not even being 50. And so these are really probably the only two pointers towards what Jesus might look like, but we don't know. And so that reminded me of a book that is one of my favourite books, which I have read many times, not in full, but keep going back to it. And it's a book called The Jesus I Never Knew. And it's written by an author called Philip Yancey. Some of you may be familiar with his work. And in the book, it talks about how our perception of Jesus can somewhat be blinded by perhaps our experiences, our backgrounds, our upbringing within the church, maybe elsewhere, where we have this preconceived idea that Jesus is meek and mild, gentle, and appears to be someone who is all loving and kind and caring. And of course he is. But that image of Jesus sometimes can perhaps be slightly blinkered, because that doesn't represent the full story. And so if we read through the Gospels and other areas of the Bible, we find that some of the things that have been said about God and said about Jesus perhaps point to a different view of who Jesus is. So I'm going to just go through a few things that Jesus said to make us be reminded of a different perspective of what Jesus might, or who Jesus might be. Jesus said this: "Are you still so dull? You have little faith." Jesus said, "Go away. You will be hated by everyone." Jesus said, "I did not come to bring peace, but a sword." He said, "Whoever is not with me is against me." He said, "How is it you don't understand? Get behind me, Satan. You unbelieving and perverse generation, how long shall I stay with you? How long shall I put up with you?" Jesus said to the fig tree, "May you never bear fruit again." Jesus said to the Pharisees, "You hypocrites, you snakes, you brood of vipers." And when a woman showed kindness to Jesus, the disciples weren't happy. But Jesus said to the disciples quite plainly, "Why are you bothering this woman?" When his disciples were meant to protect Jesus in his hour of need, they fell asleep And he came back and he says, could you not even watch with me for 1 hour? He also said, where is your faith? And then finally Jesus said, I have come to bring fire on earth. Whatever we think of Jesus, our thoughts are often drawn towards this image of a Jesus who is with people, children. Sometimes there are some lambs there, some nice fluffy lambs. And it's very different to the image of, or the words that Jesus says as he lived his life on earth. So which Jesus is the Jesus that brings peace and love and gentleness, or is it the Jesus that strikes terror into our hearts? Well, if you look at the whole Bible, you see the full picture. Remembering that the Old Testament is a pointer towards Jesus. And throughout the Old Testament we have characters who often are types of Christ. For example, Joseph was a type of Christ, and so was David. And there are many other examples as well. But if we think about our God in the Old Testament, it tells us this, that our God is a loving God who's slow to anger and abounding in love. Our God is patient, but our sin will anger God. It's a righteous anger, as Pastor Ken often talks about a righteous anger. What does that mean, a righteous anger? Well, he has a right to be angry. God has a right to be angry when we sin. God has a right to be jealous, because we can't really put other things before God. We need to put God first. And it's exactly the same with Jesus. He's a right to be angry when people don't understand his sayings. He's a right to be angry when people are just doing one thing and saying another. So I'm going to leave you with a thought from this book, The Jesus I Never Knew by Philip Yancey. And it says this: athletes come up with creative portrayals of Jesus that elude modern scholarships. Norm Evans is a former Miami Dolphins lineman. And he wrote in his book on God's Squad this: I guarantee you Christ would be the toughest guy who ever played this game. If he were alive today, I would picture a 6'6" 260-pound defensive tackle who would always make the big plays and would be hard to keep out of the backfield for offensive linemen like myself. The reference is to American football, so apologies for that, but it kind of strikes with me because I used to play football and I was never blessed with a huge amount of skill or pace, but what I really liked to do was to get stuck in and tackle hard, and to think of an image of Jesus when you're playing in a team, and he's the one guy that you can rely on. He's the one guy that will really stick up for you, and he will support you and help you. And
how do you spell nutritious?
So, in honoured fashion, I'm going to end this by saying keep praying, keep looking up, keep washing your hands, but also keep trying to know the real Jesus.